Welcome back to State of the Union. I'm Jake Tapper. One of the surprises for Democrats this election cycle was just how many Latinos swung their support to Donald Trump. My next guest is a Democrat who bucked that trend and outperformed among Latinos in Arizona. Joining us now with some advice for his party, Senator-elect Ruben Gallego of Arizona. You're still a member of the House, though, right? I mean,
yes, unfortunately.
Is it okay if I call you Congressman, or do you demand that I call you Senator-elect?
Just call me Ruben. It's fine.
Okay. So you won in Arizona. The top of the ticket did not. What did you do right and they did wrong?
Well, look, from the get-go, we understood that we were already behind the 8 ball. There are 300,000 more registered Republicans than Democrats. We needed to just talk to everybody as often as possible and build trust, because we knew it was a very hard environment. People were hurting. When I say people were hurting, people really felt the pain of the economy, of not being able to buy what they wanted, not being able to buy a house, even get apartments. And what we needed to do is make sure people understood that I felt what they had felt, because I grew up poor. I understood what they were feeling. So we went everywhere in Arizona. We spoke to everybody, Democrats, Republicans, Independents. We went to the reddest parts of the state. We went to some of the bluest parts of the state that also never get visited. And we explained to people that, what is happening right now is bad. And also, by the way, it's not your fault. But we're going to work to fix it.
I've heard. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and I think that's the thing that we did for 23 months that made the biggest difference.
I've heard Democrats complaining, and this is not Kamala Harris specific, but I've heard Democrats complaining that too often Democrats think that they can say, "Oh, don't worry about your pain. Look at this chart."
Yes, that's true.
And do you think that was something that?
Absolutely. A lot of people were saying that, and I heard that. Like, we'll talk to them about how good the economy is. The problem is, you can have all the graphs you want. If you open up your checking account and you see that you're making less and there's not enough coming in, it doesn't matter what the GDP growth is, right? If you go to the grocery store, and I live in a fairly working class area, and you start noticing that the brand names are not being bought and generics are, it doesn't matter what unemployment is. A lot of people got through this rising inflation by also taking out credit card debt. And this is, I think, what people forgot the whole time, is that even though, yes, wages were getting higher, yes, costs were going down, people were still paying down credit card debt that they used basically to survive this whole time. And so one of the things that we were very clear about in this campaign is we said, yes, let's see what we can do. Like, let's figure out what we can do to make your life a little easier, so you can breathe easier, right? Mm-hmm. And just being able to recognize that, hey, this is a problem, and not just trying to gloss over it, I think was a big, big difference.
Yeah, let's talk about the Latino vote, because obviously that's a place that you did well. It's Donald Trump didn't win the Latino vote, but he did better than any Republican presidential candidate in history. And according to CNN's exit poll, 55% of Latino men voted for him. That's a 19-point swing from 4 years ago. You say that Democrats need to, quote, go touch grass and meet real Latinos. What do you mean by that?
I think Democrats a lot of times surround ourselves with people that will affirm what we already believe, or people from our same backgrounds, right? And so you have a lot of Ivy League candidates that hire Ivy League Latinos that don't actually come from a working class background, and most Latinos are actually working class. And sometimes we don't want to hear what they're saying. And I had the benefit of growing up, in a working class family. Like, my mom's a secretary, my father was a carpenter. I grew up, it's still, even my whole family, Latino family, is working class. So I actually have, it's a big Latino family too, I actually have a really good pulse on what's happening there. And we don't want to hear the bad news. And I think a lot of times, we knew that something was bad with the Latino community when it comes to their opinion of the economy, because I'm very much connected to it. I think a lot of politicians didn't want to hear what was actually happening out there. And the reason we were successful is because we heard about it and we moved early on it. My first campaign commercial was about the economy in Spanish and also on the border. Our first commercial was about immigration and more border security in Spanish, because we heard about it earlier. I think there's a lot of people in D.C. that didn't want to hear what was happening out there, because it would go against some of their, some of the stuff they had learned in the past.